I'm not sure if I need this or not. I don't know if I like that. Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Welcome to the Board of Education's candidate meeting sponsored by the PT Council. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about PT Council. We are a group of volunteers, I want to stress that word, consisting of PTO representatives from all of our schools in town. We meet regularly to share ideas, issues, and concerns with each other and also with the school district and the Board of Education. The PT Council is a nonpartisan entity. We do not endorse any candidate here tonight. Tonight's meeting was created by the PT Council to help Nutley voters make an informed decision about their vote in November. This is not a debate, but rather an informational forum to get to know the candidates. We'd like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Battaglia, Mr. Scotti, Mr. Fraginals, and Mr. Gilberti. Thank you all for coming and taking part in tonight's forum. Please keep in mind again that we are volunteers trying to offer an opportunity to the four candidates and the good people of Nutley. We are open to ideas and suggestions for future candidates meetings should we decide to sponsor another. Please feel free to email us at nutleyptcouncil@gmail.com. Again, thank you for coming and for attending tonight. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Desiree Bernasconi.
Good evening. My name is Desiree Bernasconi, and on behalf of the Nutley PT Council, I would like to welcome you to the first annual Board of Education Candidates Meeting. I will be the moderator this evening, and a few words about this evening. The questions tonight were created from the most commonly submitted inquiries collected from an online form circulated among all Nutley schools and on town-related social media earlier this month. Candidates were provided with these questions prior to this event to allow them to provide informative responses for our audience. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer each question. The order of the candidate responses was generated at random for the first, middle, and last questions. The remainder of the questions were assigned to candidates to ensure that each had an opportunity to respond first, last, and in the middle. We ask that the audience maintains a respectful silence as each candidate provides their response. As a final note, this event is being recorded, and the recording will be shared to all Nutley schools and on social media. Now we will begin with the candidates' introductions, and we ask that all the candidates provide a brief biography, including any particular connections that they have to the community, and we ask them to explain why we should vote for each of them. We will start with Mr. Fraginals. Do you have any particular connections to the community that you would like to mention, and why should we vote for you?
Sure. So first I'd like to say thank you to the PT Council for doing this. I think it's awesome for us to get a chance to talk a little bit. Sometimes at the Board of Ed meetings we don't get to, we're not as verbose as we'd like to be at times, so thank you for kind of letting us get out and chat a little bit. I think unlike my esteemed colleagues, I might be the only one here who wasn't born in Nutley, born and raised here. And I think that's kind of like a cliche term I've started to use. I chose to be here, I wasn't born here. Me and my wife moved here about 15 years ago, and we haven't regretted it a day, no matter what's been going on. We lived in one house in town, we outgrew it. We moved to an apartment, and we found another house in town. So we are definitely, we dug our heels in, and we're definitely looking to put our roots here. I have 3 children. My daughter Isabella, who's 11, loves softball, loves theater, likes cheer. My son Tyler, he plays football, 8-year-old on the C team. My Alex, who was 4 years old, apologize in advance to the teachers there. He's my rambunctious one. He will definitively give them a run for his money. So seeking community service is something I'm going to need to do to kind of, because what he'll probably do in the school when he gets there. I was on the zoning board I'm on the zoning board. I've recently taken over on the Board of Ed earlier this year when Ken Riley stepped down. I am a information security technologist by trade. My wife's in finance. And, I'm just seeking your vote to continue doing what we're doing at 3J this November 5th.
Mr. Scotty?
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for setting up this forum. I'm proud to serve as a trustee on the Nutley Board of Education. My family moved to Nutley because of the strong reputation of its public schools. Growing up here, I've experienced firsthand what makes Nutley special. Things like our sense of community and our commitment to our students. Being a proud graduate of the Nutley Public Schools, class of 2020, has shaped me and has shaped who I am today. Education has always been a priority for my family. My father, a lifelong educator, has often shared stories around our kitchen table about the impact a good teacher can have on a student's life. Both of my sisters have benefited from Nutley's special needs programs, and having those stories inspired me to help others in the same way. So I've seen how critical it is for every student to have the support and resources they need to succeed. That's why I chose to run for the Board of Education in the first place. I wanted to give back to the community that's not only done so much for myself, but so much for my entire family. That commitment to education has stayed with me, and I recently graduated from Fordham University this past May, eager to continue making a difference here in the community. As a young, motivated trustee, I bring a fresh and unique perspective that's grounded in my recent experience as a Nutley student. I understand firsthand where our schools excel and where they need some improvement. I'm asking for your vote because I believe in transparency, accountability, and keeping the community informed. I'm committed to making sure Nutley schools remain a place where all students can thrive. Thank you for your support.
Mr. Gilberti?
Good evening. Thank you as well for throwing this meeting. So a little bit about myself. My name is Steve Gilberti. I have two small boys in town, Joseph and Vincent. They're 9 and 7. They both go to Spring Garden. I'm born and raised here. I'm 4th generation. My kids are 5th. So a little bit about myself would be I'm a member of a proud Nutley family, and as a parent of 2 sons in the school district, a community volunteer, and a technology specialist, I believe the ability of our children to compete in an international marketplace depends on our ability to be able to provide them with a top-notch education. All right, so that's why I've started to get involved here. I grew up in a house in town with a special needs sibling. I know how critical it is that these individuals are given every opportunity to keep along the path of a routine every day and certain structure that goes a long way into building their day and their whole routines. So they need our special attention. I want to be sure that I'm here to be able to help fight for it if you guys give me the opportunity to.
Mr. Battaglia?
Thank you, and again, thanks to the community for coming, and thanks to the PT Council for setting up this event for everyone. Name is Joe Battaglia. I'm a third generation Nutley resident. I'm raising my 4th. I come from a family who's serviced in this town. My father was a board representative as well as a commissioner. But more importantly, my mother and father were pretty avid participants in community. They represented many PTOs on several fundraising opportunities, and they raised me in a household of giving back to the community that gave so much to them. So I'm doing that for my children. I was elected to the board last term, 3 years ago, and I'm very fortunate to have 2 sons in the district. I've got a son in 8th grade, a son in junior high, a son is junior, as well as my wife, who's a professional in this district, coming up on 20 years. I'm very fortunate to be tied to the community in that regard. And I have to say, I'm very, very, very grateful for the opportunity for the last 3 years to be a trustee here. This is an incredibly wonderful town. I'm raising my family here. I think my family will continue to remain here. And I look forward to working with the community, whether I am in this seat or out of it, to help move the community forward, particularly the educational programs where we need them. My background is in finance. I'm coming up on 30 years. I've held a variety of roles, both in sales, management, leadership. They've included responsibilities in human resources and budgeting. And I think all of those skills are relevant, particularly in the time that we're in right now in this school district. I look forward to answering any questions that aren't on the list that we have tonight. I'll be out front along with my peers up here. And thank you again for coming.
Thank you. The first submitted question is, what skill sets make you uniquely qualified to be a Board of Education trustee? And we'll start with Mr. Gilberti.
So, as a parent of 2 boys in the system, I see what comes home every day. I ask my sons, what did you learn today? I meet and speak with parents outside the school waiting for my child's dismissal and have insight into what worries them. I know what questions the people want answered from the board. I know about the recent reduction of services that are bothering a lot of the parents, and I think that transparency has not been where it should be for the people of the town. So I have a background in international business and experience with dealing with cultures all around the world. I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets for many years, never once exceeding or over-exceeding my expenditures. I'm extremely experienced in the budgetary process and the importance of fiscal responsibility. I bring the value of a new set of eyes, right? So I won't accept the answers along the lines of, that's the way we've always done it, or this is the vendor we've always used, right? So I come from a business culture of accountability. When you make a decision, you must be able to justify it. And if you make the wrong decision or fail to fulfill your responsibility, you are held accountable. It's time to let the community know what's really going on and how we got into the predicament in which we currently find ourselves. We need to do it in plain language and be truthful before we can expect the backing of our community again to help support the school system.
Mr. Battaglia.
You know, when I look at the question, the term here, uniquely qualified to be a BoE trustee, is important. I talked about my background. As we mentioned, I've been 30 years in finance. And when I think about those roles and those responsibilities, they are applicable particularly for the benefits that I bring to as a trustee. We are in an incredibly important position in this district and in this town. At this juncture, when I think about what has occurred and how it occurred, I played a direct role in identifying the issues, putting in place a plan to isolate the problems, work with other members of the board to put a plan in place and lobby for a monitor to come to Nutley, and ultimately have been working to stabilize the budget. And now, as we transition from stabilizing the budget to what is going to occur over the next 2 years, which is putting forth a budget that is going to be sustainable on a go-forward basis. We have to protect our children, we have to protect our taxpayers, and we have to ensure that what occurred here does not occur again. Because I am a professional who has worked in these types of situations in the past, and because I have the experience that I've just collected over the last 3 years, I think I'm uniquely placed to be one of the 9 representatives on the board for this community.
Mr. Faginales.
So I think what uniquely qualifies me would be just kind of being a voice for technology, right? I think that in technology in general, we come in, we optimize processes, we are focused on finding the efficiencies. And as we usher into the 21st century, there's going to be 1,000 jobs in technology. And so the job of a board member, and people like to forget, like, we don't deal in curriculum. We are policy and oversight board. And so I definitely want to advocate for strong technology, whether it's back end or whether it's what we're teaching in the schools. I mean, for me, you'll probably start to see that's where my bias is, because that's just my passion. But realistically, it's almost less about the qualification part. It's not like It's not something special. It's you have to be willing to do the work, right? We need more people that are going to shoulder the burden right now. I mean, we have a problem in the district, and we need more people that are going to grab the rope and start pulling. And so it's really more about listening to the taxpayers, listening to people in the district, and putting the policies in place. And I'm going to just be a reoccurring theme of mine. All right, we have a monitor. And listen, she's awesome. She knows what she's doing. She's been doing this for 40 years. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should be listening right now, and we should be learning, and we should be putting policies in place that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. Scotty?
As a As a lifelong resident of Nutley and a proud product of our public school system, I bring a unique personal experience and a deep commitment to our community. Having grown up here in Nutley and graduated from its schools, I have firsthand knowledge of the strengths and challenges within our district. This gives me a real understanding of what it's like to be a student here and what improvements are needed to ensure every child has the opportunity to succeed. I believe the best governments are most effective and efficiently ran when we have walks of all life coming together, collaborating, working together. Furthermore, in addition to my role as a current trustee, I've already had the privilege of serving Nutley families on the Board of Education these past 3 years, being elected in 2021. And over these past few years, I've been working well alongside my fellow board trustees and township officials, and we've accomplished a lot, like expanding academic opportunities, enhancing school security through new school resource officers and entrance plans, and we've launched initiatives like the Raising Raiders Universal Preschool Program, which when finished expanding is going to ensure early education access for all of our youngest learners 100% free, and that's being entirely funded from the state. We have also made some crucial infrastructural improvements. These include the secure vestibule over at Yanacor School, an overhauled media center, weight room, and gymnasium over at the high school right here. And we also accomplished a new multi-purpose room over at Radcliffe School. On top of this, we've expanded academic opportunities through enhanced dual enrollment programs with schools like Caldwell, Bergen Community College, Fairleigh Dickinson, Seton Hall, Ryder, and Rutgers. One of the most important skills I bring is the ability to communicate openly and transparently with the community. I've made it a priority to keep the community informed about key issues and decisions, especially through social media, so that our parents, students, taxpayers, and residents feel engaged and heard. I'm committed to making sure that every decision we make as a board keeps the best interests of our students and families at the center. With my deep connection to Nutley, my personal experience as a recent student, and the knowledge I've gained as a current trustee, I'm confident that I can continue to bring a valuable perspective and skill set to the Board of Education. Thank you.
So our next question has multiple parts, so if you need me to repeat it, just let me know. What is your vision for education in this community? What do you think the top 3 needs of our community are, and how do you plan to address them? We'll start with Mr. Battaglia.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and be succinct because I have a sneaking suspicion that some of my concepts and ideas will be similar to my peers up here. I have 3 things that I think are priorities, but they're not the only ones. But facilities, technology, and opportunities for all students. The facilities, we are all well aware of some of the challenges we have in the district with our portfolio of properties. We have old buildings, but we have some pretty good buildings. That said, the needs for space, which are not directly tied to population, have put pressure. I think that we've done some things over the course of the last several years. We've attempted referendums, but we have made improvements. We've taken on some improvements around safety and security. We've been also very cognizant of the fact that we're not particularly happy that we have trailers in our district. Trailers have become pervasive in many school districts, but there's an opportunity for us to potentially get rid of them here. We should do it. But that said, I'd like us to become more proactive. Many of the issues that we have in our facilities today are tied to the fact that we have not made material improvements for many years, going back 25, maybe even more. When you walk around these buildings are in fairly good shape. If we were more proactive than reactive, we'd be in a better place. technology is critical for education in today's environment. That said, and we had no better example is our inability to put our one-to-one device program in the place of our fourth graders. But it's not just hardware, it's software. Right? Many of the things, I graduated in the 90s. I was in that class in 92. There was no internet. There was no Google. Today, there's AI. We need to teach our students how to utilize software as well as get more hardware in their hands. If anybody's walked around these buildings, you've seen things like our Promethean boards. These are beautifully powerful pieces of equipment that are also incredibly expensive and incredibly unreliable. There are better ways that we can deploy technology in this district, and we should do it. And last but not least, we know and always think about students getting advanced degrees. But it's not just about students going to college. We need to ensure that we take care of students that want to enter into a trade or students that want to go into the military. We need to ensure that there is a workplace for everyone who leaves this building. And I think we can do better in that regard as well.
Mr. Scotty?
Thank you. My vision for education here in Nutley is to ensure that every student, no matter their background or interests, has access to the resources and opportunities they need to succeed. I would say the number one issue facing our district right now is the budget deficit. One of the biggest challenges we face is managing the current budget deficit while minimizing the negative impacts it has on our students and staff. Working alongside the state monitor, my focus has been and will continue to be at maintaining transparency throughout this process, keeping the community informed, and ensuring accountability. It's crucial that we find a sustainable solution that doesn't compromise the quality of our education. And on the same topic, we need to secure additional funding everywhere possible. This will help relieve some of the pressure on the taxpayers. And we need to explore alternative sources, whether it's through local partnerships, shared services, state aid, or grants. And I'm committed to fighting for those resources to reduce the tax burden on our community while investing in our schools. My goal is to bring in more money without it being on you guys, the taxpayers, directly. And I would say another big area of concern we need to keep at is school safety, especially in today's world. Enhancing school safety remains a top priority of mine as we strive to provide a more secure and supportive environment within our district where all students and staff feel safe coming to our schools. With new SROs now present at our schools, we've made significant progress, and we also recently completed the Yannickel School Secure Entrance Vestibule, ensuring that all our students have secure entrances. However, there's still a lot of work to be done. As you guys know, we still have the trailers, and it's a top priority to get those removed as quickly as possible. Not only are they not aesthetically pleasing, children should not be coming to school every day in a trailer, and they are not the most safe outlet for them to be getting their education in. We must continue to invest in improving physical security measures. You can never do too much in that sense. And with that being said, we also have to prioritize mental health initiatives. Mental health support is very important. There's a severe mental health crisis going on in this country right now. And with all of that being said, we need to keep fostering a culture of awareness and preparedness within our schools to tackle these things head on. Overall investments in things like STEM education and again, mental health awareness, and we need to also have greater athletic opportunities within our district. These things are all crucial to meeting the diverse needs of students in the 21st century. I'm excited about the new media center at the high school because this features a robotics lab, and that's designed to inspire innovation and creativity. My goal is to ensure that Nutley students are not just a place where students learn, but that they feel safe, supported, and can thrive. Thank you.
Mr. Gilberti?
So my vision for Nutley's education system would be I support what's best, obviously, for all the kids in town. I want a collaborative effort with all members of the community. We need to seek input from all stakeholders, children, teachers, taxpayers. Everybody needs to have input and be involved. It's important to provide an environment that not only inspires the children, but also leaves them feeling safe while they learn. as you guys have made point to, the trailers are not the safest thing that we offer our kids. It's the trailer problem has grown in town. How many of the grammar schools actually have them? Is it 3 of the 5? I think maybe more, right? So it really be nice to see some of that advancement in the buildings, because there's districts around us that are making advancements in the buildings without going to referendum, without hitting the taxpayer. So it would be nice to start exploring some of those options. In terms of our needs, I'd like to see empowering more of the teachers and the staff with the right support and resources, right? So it's a major cause for concern that we've had such a high turnover of teachers. A lot goes into that: classroom size, workload. None of that made better by the budget deficit now that we face, right? So we've had a lot of good teachers leave on their own. We've had to dismiss a lot of good teachers. So I think empowering the teachers and staff is really important in the front. Obviously, upgrading our tools and technology would be great. As a father of a 4th grader, it's disappointing that they don't get the option to use the Chromebook. It's kind of the second setback for that age group, right? Because they did their first year virtual. So it's like we're kind of just setting that age group back again, right? So getting everybody onto that one-to-one program would be awesome, and there's options out there. We can lease gear, which would give us, like you can put $100,000, let's say, a year up for the gear on a 3-year lease, and you can get access immediately to the $300,000 worth of gear, which would go a long way. It's still going to take time, but if we start doing that now, we can see that investment and be a true one-to-one program within a few years, right? So movement in that area would be great. And then obviously getting kids ready for their futures, right? So it would be great to see us adopt multiple forms of career readiness tools and resources. We already offer some good options. I'd like to see more advancement in AP courses, IB courses, and like internships to start getting hands-on experience in the field. So sorry, I know I'm over my time. Thank you.
Thank you. So another question is what's my vision for the future of Nutley? But realistically, as a trustee, it's kind of a flawed question. It should be, what's my vision for the district? And if you look at it from that lens, it's going to sound repetitive, but when I went to school, there wasn't a ton in the way of technology. And if you learned Word or Excel, you were just scratching the surface, and then you would get to the real world, and you would find I don't necessarily know how to code. I don't know how to deal with middleware. I don't know how to do installation or work with different security protocols. And so we would really be fashion forward when it comes to technology and dealing with 21st century methodologies. The second priority would be improved oversight. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're not in charge of the district right now. And I'll repeat it again. I think that we're going to take control of the district by putting the right policies in place, by listening to Ms. Makis, so that we're back in control again. And the other thing, again, is going to be, it's been said before, is greater transparency. And to be honest, I just don't think it should be that hard for a taxpayer to find out where his or her money's going. And so I think we need to be more clear about what we're spending on, so that people have more confidence when they pay their tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, please try to stay within your 3 minutes. Next question is, considering the current deficit, how will you approach balancing the budget while minimizing negative impacts to the students and or staff? And we'll start with Mr. Faginals.
I'm sorry. No, on my notes. Yeah, I think it's going to go back a lot to what I said before. It's when I saw this question, I thought to myself, do you want the political answer or the truth? And I'm a pretty straight shooter. I mean, right now we have a state-appointed monitor, and she controls the budget. And again, I said the great news is she's awesome, right? She's got 40 years experience, and to be honest, I've implored everyone to steal as much knowledge from her as possible. Because let's face it. I mean, she's here to help. She has the knowledge, and we've just got to make the best of it.
Mr. Battaglia?
Sorry, I didn't want to hop in front of anybody. To follow on what Mr. Fraginal said, the reality is balancing the budget and ensuring that we do not impact the educational program and the facilities and our faculty are at odds with each other currently. Right? The reality is we have a substantial deficit, which we now need to plan for paying back the loan to the state, which will occur over the next 10 years in an interest-free format. The truth is, when you look at what has put us in this position, it is not necessarily simply, as many would like to believe, a personnel issue. We have made decisions in this district going back as many as 10 years and set us down a path to put us to where we are today. What we need to do is, and very often said in terms that are used, things like needs-based budgeting and bottom-up budgeting, the reality is we need to start doing more about and spending more on what we need and less on what we want. And there are ways that we can do this effectively in this district. There are areas, as I said when I talked to the community in April and presented what the deficit was, that there are areas where we allowed expenditures to exceed the necessary means. Some of those are going to be in programs, some of those are going to be in faculty, some of those are going to be in facility. And there are ways that we can do this, but from a go-forward basis, starting at the end of the first quarter, which we are about to close at the end of October, our fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30th. The public is going to get an update on where we are at on budget, and I'm happy to say that we are on budget. And we are trending to be not in the red for this year. But that does not mean that there is work to do. As I said, we've stabilized the budget, but what we now need to do is put a budget in place that is going to be more impactful on a go-forward basis. I do not want to see us in the same position we were last year. We had to eliminate positions. Unfortunately, some of the positions that we eliminated were positions we were never in position to put forth in the first place. These are not easy things to say. Anyone who knows me, I am effectively honest. And I am disappointed that we put ourselves in this position. It is not entirely tied to one decision, but a series of decisions that have cumulative effect. But we now have a plan in place, which we started at the beginning of this year, to put ourselves back in the direction we need to go. We have an opportunity to grow. We should continue to do that. There are ways for us to effectively add programs, not just with taxpayer dollars. We need to be more creative in those regards.
Mr. Scotti?
Thank you. The current budget deficit is a very serious issue. I believe in being completely honest with you all about it. I was misled and relied on information that was inaccurate and false. I share the community's frustration and outrage over this damaging situation. While I will always fight for our students and our staff, I need to be clear that the final decisions are in the hands of the state monitor, who I have a good working relationship with. I have a good working relationship with Ms. Makis. However, she does have the final say on all things financial, and that's a reality we're unfortunately facing. My focus is on minimizing the negative impacts on our schools. I'll advocate for every possible solution, whether through local partnerships, shared services, state aid, or grants. I'm committed to fighting for those resources to reduce the tax burden on you guys, the community. And we need to protect our educational programs and support our staff as much as possible. We're in a very tough spot, and I'll keep fighting for what's best for Nutley, but I want everyone to understand that while I'm committed to pushing back, the monitor ultimately makes the final call on all budgetary decisions, and anyone who will try to tell you guys otherwise is misinformed and truly does not understand the complexity of this challenging situation.
Mr. Gilberti?
So I had an answer here about fund management, and that really doesn't doesn't matter because Miss Mackis makes the final decision, like they said, right? So I think it's important to just note here that if you look at it, our schools have already experienced that negative blow, right? We've lost teachers, we've lost security, right? We've lost paraprofessionals. We've had some of our top directors walk away, right? So the impacts are real. They're happening, right? There's no way that we can, I guess, avoid any more in the future because we don't control the finances anymore, right? It's great that Miss Mackis is super qualified and here to help, but she comes at a cost, right? It's not like she's just here to help out of the goodness of her heart. We are paying her, right? It's the taxpayer funding that. So I'll be honest, I do a lot of budgeting too, and I look at the budget and I look at the tax increase that we just received, and I don't see how it's feasible that next year you're not going to have to come back for a little bit more because there's just not enough there to really run it properly. So I don't see how we don't come back to the taxpayer, but we should be, you know, Nick had a good point before, right? Grant writing is super important. We should be filing grants for anything that this town is available for so that we can give what we can to the children. Because right now, it's either going to come out of our pocket or it's going to come out of the state's. So we should be applying for grants. We should be looking into options to start bringing money in. I'd like to see us start reviewing properties that the school district owns that maybe we don't need anymore, right? Maybe it's time to start flipping those over. I think a total review of everything. I mean, there's a large rental space over Valley National Bank. I mean, it all comes at a heavy cost, right? So I think honestly, Ms. Mackis makes the decisions, like you said, but we can still make some decisions for ourselves to put the money back into the school that maybe negatively affects the parents again. But the money's got to come from somewhere. It's likely coming from the taxpayer again. Maybe we can work with businesses in town for fundraising. We have a lot of good businesses in this town. I believe with cooperation with them, we can bring in fundraising to help support certain programs. I don't see those businesses turning their back on the town. I've been here a long time. They've been helpful for a very, very long time.
Our next submitted question is, as our town's cultural and religious diversity has grown, what steps will you take to ensure that all are represented? Mr. Scotty?
Thank you. As Nutley's cultural and religious diversity continues to grow, I believe it's vital that our schools reflect and celebrate this diversity. To ensure that all voices are represented, I think we must prioritize collaboration with all of our community members. This includes parents, teachers, students, taxpayers, everybody. I know we recently concluded a week of respect here in our schools, highlighting kindness and inclusion, and I also know over at Lincoln School we celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month this past month. These types of initiatives are important steps, but there's always more we can do. On concrete actions we've taken over the past few years, one of them is creating a list of no homework weekends aligned with various cultural holidays. This allows families to observe important traditions without the added pressure of schoolwork. By respecting and acknowledging these diverse observances, I believe we build a more inclusive environment for all of our families. Additionally, we can tie all of this back to our anti-bullying policies. We have to make sure they are not only strong, but we have to make sure that the policies are actually fully being enforced by our district staff. I'd also like to tie this back into the importance of mental health wellness, as well as a grant we recently, not a grant, a check we recently received from Proponent Bank. We recently received money from Proponent Bank to launch an esports program. I think that is in collaboration with the township. We will be receiving this and we will be able to launch an esports program. I think that is vital for our community as it shows the growing diversity within sports, and it's going to ensure that all students have an outlet to express who they are. Gaming is very big in today's age, and that's very exciting. And of course, when we talk about all of this diversity, inclusion, making sure everybody feels welcome, we have to talk about mental health and the mental health crisis ongoing in this country. I'm excited that we received a grant earlier this year from Smarter Self 360. This will ensure our students are coming to school with a well state of mind, and that when they need support, they are getting it.
Mr. Gilberti?
So I agree, Nick. The no homework weekends for certain holidays are awesome. That's a great thing. And so I'm a strong believer in parent rights, right? So I see in that question, examples were given for critical race theory, sex, gender, education. I am not sure if all the parents are up to date on the special health assignments and stuff like that. But I'd like to see a shift back in the direction towards education from the schools and more freedom for the parents to raise their own children, right? So when we got involved in this, it was kind of along the lines of we raise the children and the school educates them. And somewhere along those lines, we seem to be blurring responsibilities. So not all kids are always ready for the same conversations at the same time, right? And the conversations today are pretty complex, right? It's a little bit different than when I had the conversations with my parents. So I think it's a sensitive subject, and honestly, I think that if we just all raise our children the way we should, which is not to pass judgment on anybody based on race, color, belief, religion, and just treat everybody for the people that they are on the inside, we can go back to taking care of raising the kids and let the schools educate them, because test scores aren't exactly where they really should be at all times, right? So let's put the time back into that stuff and let the parents go about raising the kids. In terms of holidays and stuff like that, nobody should ever not have access to a holiday they believe in. Maybe we could even look into what a lot of companies have done, which is like a floating holiday for the kids. You can use it on a holiday you opt, as long as it's a actual holiday, right? Like you can't just take a Tuesday off in June, but if you opt to take off for a Jewish holiday that the district doesn't offer, that should be acceptable. But I don't want to, exclude anybody, or I just want to make sure we protect parent rights, because there's been like a little bit of a push against parent rights. I know we take part in policy 5756. It'd be nice to see some pushback on that. A lot of districts have reversed on that subject. It's worth taking a look at if you're not sure what that policy is, but it's basically the seat of the parents on how their child's behaving in the school district. So, I mean, I love transparency, but I don't see much of it, and it seems like we have policies in place to help deceive the parents in certain areas, so it would be good to make a transition away from that.
Mr. Battaglia?
There's a lot to unpack in this question, but I'm going to start with just the generational shift that I've seen from when I graduated to my children being in the school today. This was largely an Italian and Irish community, and it is not anymore. We are a far more diverse community and culture today than we were 10 years ago and 10 years before that. And I think, at least from my perspective, the township's better for it. So I think it's important. If we just look at the change we made in our schedule last year, we added Yom Kippur as a day that we were probably long overdue to be observing in this district. It's the high holy holiday in the Jewish religion. And we want to thank the community that came out and asked for it. Putting the schedule together is pretty complex. We cannot honor every day, or we will wind up going to school all year round. We've already taken away our winter break to account for some of these holidays, but I think it's been mentioned here, there are some things that we are doing a little better, right? We have no homework days. We probably need to also have some no test days, and a little bit more awareness of what that schedule looks like. When it comes to the curriculum, I hear what Mr. Gilberti said. I know I spend a lot of time in my household having different conversations than my parents had with me, because these are more complex times. Information's available, and things that are talked about today were not talked about 15, 20, 30 years ago. I'm glad they're talked about today, but I also do think that it's appropriate to allow parents to do it on their own. But that said, I want to be very clear when it comes to curriculum. The state mandates curriculum, and we have to abide by the curriculum that the state puts in front of us. If we fail to do so, we have ourselves at risk for state aid. To put that in a very simple point, if we do not follow some of the guidelines when it comes to curriculum for the state, we cannot arbitrarily make changes on our own. It is not within the purview of a board. One of the primary responsibilities of a trustee, that I believe, is that we are not to put ourselves in litigation risk, and we are not to put ourselves at risk from losing income from the state in form of aid, especially now. So I think that there are things that we can do to talk about the calendar and ensure that we're honoring and inclusive. I think we have a good culture here in Nutley. We can always do better. But when it comes to curriculum, I think we have to be very careful not to exceed the limitations of a trustee or exceed the limitations of the district's administration.
Mr. Fraginals?
I think it's great. I think it speaks volumes. Nutley isn't a drive-by town. We're a destination, right? You can see that there are, I've moved into a new neighborhood. There's a lot of people, all different walks of life moving around me. And I think it's great to, as a community, what we've actually created. And it's a pretty simple answer for me. We need to continue to foster a safe and inclusive Nutley for everyone. I'll say it again, everyone said it. We've implemented no homework days for certain religious holidays. And, I think it's a great start. Hopefully we don't make many mistakes along the way, but in the process of it all. But, I think we just need to focus on listening to the community, and we need to continue just to get better.
Okay. For our last question, it is a two-part question. So again, if you need me to repeat it, please just let me know. What educational issues are a priority to you? Do you think there are any programs that are under or over-represented? And we'll start with Mr. Scotti.
Thank you. When it comes to educational priorities, I believe there's always room for improvement. We can't settle for mediocrity, and our goal should be to push the envelope for every program, student as well as family. When it comes to these educational priorities, it's so important that we consistently evaluate and enhance the resources available to our students and ensure all of them receive the support they need to thrive. Every single student in our district deserves the opportunity to explore their own specific and unique interests as well as talents, and we must work to provide diverse offerings that cater to their needs for the entire Nutley community. Listening to the voices of our community, like parents, teachers, taxpayers, and students, is key here, and by fostering open dialogue and collaboration, we can identify areas where we need to do better and ensure that our district is truly inclusive.
Mr. Fraginals?
Yeah, so first I'd like to say that I would support any developmental program that people want to sign up for, and that we have the budget to sustain. And again, I'll go back to my technology bias, and I'll lean in there. I can't tell you how often we're looking for talent in certain avenues as a technologist, and it simply just doesn't exist. And I just I'm gonna keep beating this point, but I think we need to be more fashion forward about the different aspects of technology and things that we potentially that we offer. I think to repeat a little bit with what Mr. Pataglia said, we do not get involved in curriculum. The Board of Trustee is not curriculum. And so, as much as I would love to sit there and say, we're going to get technology school bucks, I'd be lying if I said, we're going to implement that tomorrow. I can advocate for it. I could be a voice for it. I will continue to be one. But again, I'm showing my bias with technology, and I think, but it doesn't stop there. I think anything that's beneficial to the district, that's sustainable, we should continue with.
Mr. Pataglia?
I think we're well placed in the athletics in this township. We have an incredible program. We offer some sports and opportunities for our student athletes that many districts in the state of New Jersey and in the country do not offer. Crew is a great example. I think I'm really happy to see when you just look at some of the non-athletic events. I mean, you think about what has happened in Nutley, probably one of the most successful areas in extracurricular activity in Nutley has been our band. I mean, our performing arts is incredibly successful and proud for it. That said, I think we need some more extracurricular activities that support students who are not in those areas, right? Mr. Scotty mentioned we received a grant from Proponent Bank to start esports, $10,000. Tells you two things. One, that's a thing that matters today. And two, there are places that have money if you ask for it. And I think if we do a little bit more of that, we can start to build out programs in the town that are not what we would have considered traditional looking back when I was in school. Esports are one. There are some more technologies to follow along the lines of Mr. Fragiles. I think there are things from a club standpoint that we can do, but there are also things on the curriculum standpoint that we probably need to do a little bit better as well. We need to teach children things that will be applicable when they graduate this school and either go on to get an advanced degree or go directly into the workforce. And there are some things we don't do. We do not use Excel in this district. From an administrative standpoint, if you are not aware of Excel, it's a basic program that's been around for 30 years by Microsoft. We all know Microsoft. The fact that we do not use Excel and teach Excel in this district is a problem. So there are some things that we can do a little bit better on the curriculum front, but keep in mind we are, as we discussed previously, at odds between what we can add and what we have to contract when it comes to the budgetary side. There are talented people in this district. I'm going to give it a shout out to my wife. My wife is teaching a class for the first time. She was a media specialist for an entire career here in this district. I want to thank the teachers that are making the shift, that are getting into the classroom, and also teaching some very relevant and very practical coursework that are going to help these students no matter what they do when they graduate. I think we can do more of that. Thank you.
Mr. Gilberti?
So for me, it's the special needs children and the special needs programs in town, right? So my sister had to leave the district about 18 years ago. She has Down syndrome. The district wasn't able to take care of her then, and the biggest disappointment to me as a resident in the town is that here we are 18, 19 years later, and we still can't take care of these children, right? So it's like, what have we done to better what have we done to better it for them, and what have we done for the parents and the families, right? Because it's a difficult thing having to send your kid on a bus for 90 minutes or an hour every day to go to a program in a town far away. And you know, we see advancement all around us, right? If you look over what Lyndhurst has done, the facility they have built, it's a state-of-the-art facility to handle the children that need help. So I think honestly what I'd really love to see is that maybe the district needs to really take a look on a child-by-child basis for these kids and figure out if it's best for them to be in the district or not, because it seems like some of the stories from the families, because, you know, we're kind of like a community, right? We all talk out there, and some of the stories are horrifying, right? And it seems to revolve around the special needs kids. It seems to revolve around a lot of the children with type 1 diabetes, right? So it would be nice to see us make advancements in those areas, because it's been a long time, right? It's 18 years. We're not equipped to handle cases like that, and it'd be nice to just see progress where we are, offer programs for those children in town. I'd like to see real advancement for the special needs kids, and that's really why I'm here, right? I'm here to help represent them, because they seem to have been forgotten about, and with the loss of the paras, I don't see any benefit to them in any of this, so I don't want them to be forgotten again, right? We need to stand up for them.
So finally, we would like to allow each candidate to close with a statement of their own choice, and each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Gilberti, you can go first.
So if you look at New Jersey's defines the role of the school board, it says they represent the concerns of the citizens, the taxpayers, and the parents to the school administrators. and they represent the needs of the students and school district to the citizens, taxpayers, and parents of the community. The concerns of the citizens, taxpayers, and parents is the part that keeps catching me up, because I keep hearing a lot about transparency, a lot about being forthcoming about what really went on. But there are aspects that you guys can speak about, and it seems like the information coming out of the board has been very stagnant, quiet. It's almost like you're operating inside a vacuum at times. The lack of transparency to me is atrocious. Communication with the citizens and the taxpayer appears non-existent to me. The board employs a communications director. I'm not sure as a parent that I've ever heard from the communications director. I'm not sure if any of you have. At recent board meetings, there were a barrage of questions from the audience, which was cut off by the president because the board had other business that had to be addressed, right? And the telecast continued, and that other business took like all of about 5 minutes, I think, right? So that was a really bad look, right? Because you guys keep saying that you're here to help, you're here to talk, you're here to provide answers, but we're really not getting any true valid answers. And I think that's what the parents need, and I want to get them for them, right? I want them for myself. I want them for the other parents. I mean, it's a pretty big question, right? And Mr. Battaglia, I think you even voted to shut down public comment that evening. You were one of the votes to shut it down before it went back and forth. So, maybe the hearing of the citizens and being more communicative and transparent would be great. There's a lot of talk about it here this evening. I hope that what we get out of this meeting is that true transparency is needed. It seems like everybody understands that it is, but it's just not happening that way. So when it comes to fiscal responsibility, the board has failed us, right? It's been made clear we're no longer in control of the schools. But I love hearing about all the stuff you guys want to do. But you've had 3 years to do it short of Danny, right? Danny, you're new. You've had 3 years. I'm not sure the town can afford another 3.
Thank you. Mr. Battaglia?
So I'm going to, again, be pretty forthcoming and transparent. But before I go forward, I want to be very, very, very fair. Everyone up here has got absolutely the right intent for their objectives and what they'd like to see. I believe everyone's heart is in the right place. But I can also tell you that the facts, and let's just start with Mr. Gilberti's last one, I voted to extend time at the meeting, not to retract it. You believe, but unfortunately, many of the things that you've said have been incorrect. So what I would like to say is this. I have been and will continue to be as forthcoming and fair and as transparent as possible. Some of the information that you would all like to have available to you as to exactly what's occurred. If you haven't watched the presentation that I made in April, it's on tape. It's very clear what occurred here and very straightforward. What has occurred since then is information that is not yet available to the public and will be in time. We are doing what we know we need to do to move forward. We need to continue to hear. I really appreciate the public challenging for transparency and continue to do so. But do not believe when someone says to you that we are hiding things or we are failing or advocating to not provide some clarity. It's simply not true. I have almost no notes here because everything that I have talked about tonight is in here and in here. I come prepared. And I take this responsibility incredibly seriously. And I will continue to do so if you elect me for 3 more years. I ask for an opportunity at this particular juncture to bring my unique skills forward as we move to fix the issues we currently have. Thank you.
Mr. Fraginos?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we have to start with a different mindset. We need to start behaving like Nutley is not going to be a good school district, like Nutley is going to be a great school district. We need to start supporting educators. We need to start setting up our children for success. And people call me crazy all the time because I say this is the best time to be on the Board of Education, right? This is firemen run toward a burning building. Right now, what we do, the policies, what we put in place, we have a chance to actually make a difference, right? And so, I think that we need more people running toward the problem. Again, I don't think it's an ideas time. I think it's a time that we need to focus, we need to listen, we need to learn, we need to shoulder the burden. We have to work together as a team, and that's how we're going to come out of this, and we're going to be. My goal is to be Nutley be the #1 school district in New Jersey. I might fail, we might fail, but we're going to be better. Maybe we're 100, maybe we're 50, maybe we're 25. Wishful thinking, but we got to act like we're going to get there. A lot of things a lot of things I can't promise you. I'm a pretty straight shooter. What I can promise is that I'm going to be a good steward of your tax dollars. I was on your side a lot longer than I was on this one, and I'm in it to win it. So I appreciate you taking the time of hearing me, 3J, and I hope to see you out on November 5th. Thank you.
Mr. Scotty?
Again, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing me the chance to be here today, as well as I would like to thank the other candidates for coming as well. I think things like this are important, as I think it's important for the public to be able to make an informed decision. Again, Nutley has been my home my entire life. I love this community, and I couldn't be prouder to serve this community. I wouldn't be where I am today without the amazing role models and mentors that have contributed to my upbringing within the Nutley Public Schools, from Lincoln to John H. Walker all the way up to Nutley High School. That's something I hold close to my heart. I want to continue giving back to this town because this town has done so much for me as well as my entire family, and I'm asking for your vote because I really do believe in Nutley's potential and its future. I know that right now we're in a bit of a tough period, but I've seen Nutley persevere in the past. Nutley is a strong community where people care for each other and we come together. And I am confident that we're not only going to bounce back, but we're going to bounce back stronger. So again, I would like to thank you for your time. Remember, November 5th, Nick Scotty, thank you guys very much.
Thank you to all of the candidates, and thank you to all of you for attending the Nutley PT Council's first annual Meet the Board of Education Candidates Forum. We hope you found this meeting informative, and we applaud you for the support of the Nutley schools. Good night.